All right, what's going on, guys? It's Fast Cars, Fast Money. We're talking about the Southern 500 at Darlington tonight. If you guys are new here or tuning in, or if you've been watching these videos for a while, how can you help us? If you like, comment, share, retweet this, it allows us to get to more people. We're like 2 subscribers away from 900, so if you guys can help us get to that milestone mark this weekend, that would be great. If you want access to this spreadsheet, it's over on X. It's at Fast Cars FM. Feel free to go over there, ask us some lineup questions. We'll try to point you in the right direction. And then finally, hey, if you just appreciate what we do, or if you had a good weekend, you want to say thanks, there's a couple of links there in the support tab for you to be able to do that. So getting into the race preview and initial thoughts, this is a long race. It's a 500-mile race. It's 367 laps around Darlington. Darlington is, if not one of or the hardest track on the schedule in terms of how tough it is to get around this track, especially to run fast. You're going to hear a lot about the Darlington Stripe. The fastest way around this track is right up against the wall to maximize your speed. The only issue is as you're doing that, you're putting yourself and your car at risk of hitting the wall, getting damage, breaking a toe link, cutting down a tire, having some type of issue. So there's definitely a risk and a reward. And also with this track, the surface is very rough, so it eats tires. Tire management is going to be really important. The advantage of having fresh tires will be significant. So with a 500-mile race in 367 laps, it's going to be pretty high scoring. There's probably going to be multiple lap leaders tonight with the tire advantage, different drivers accumulating fast laps. You're going to want to try to maximize, those points and try to get as many of those, points into your line as possible. So let's get into it's also the regular season finale. So, this is it. After tonight's race, we will know for sure who's locked into the playoffs and who will be contending for the championship. So, you got Hamlin, Larson, Reddick, and Byron up there. I'm going to put Byron one level below Reddick, Larson, and Hamlin. I would prefer the top three. I think Byron's fine. I think Byron is a decent pivot option off of Hamlin, Larson, and Reddick. He just doesn't have that same dominator, upside and potential like I see Hamlin, Larson, and Reddick having. So Hamlin does not have a win here yet in the next gen era. However, he does give you some place differential upside. This has been historically one of his best tracks on the circuit. He's been running extremely well at the intermediate tracks all year long. He has great numbers here in the next gen era. Just hasn't been able to get that win yet. So feel pretty confident about Hamlin. Maybe you play Hamlin and pair him with one of these other drivers. I would be shocked if Hamlin, Larson, and or Reddick are not in the optimal lineup tonight. Larson is going to start the furthest forward, so he probably has the greatest chance of getting to the lead the quickest. Larson and Reddick are similar in their driver styles where they can run right up against the wall and do it rather comfortably, but that also puts them a little bit more at risk. So Larson, yes, he can totally break the slate. He did win here, or not win here, but he was pretty good here. In the spring, historically has run really well here in the next gen era, going to have a lot of dominator upside. Reddick was really good here as well, was in contention to win when him and Chris Buescher kind of got into it at the end of the race. He's looking to lock up the regular season points championship. So I'm really just spreading out my ownership between Hamlin, Larson, and Reddick. If I had to pick one or two, I probably would lean on Larson and Reddick just because of where they start and their ability, I think, will be getting to the front will be a little bit easier. Hamlin, I can see someone just slowly but surely, very methodically taking his time and getting to the front. So I think you can't really go wrong with either of them or any of them, but I really like Larson and Reddick if I had to pick. A guy I like too is Brad Keselowski. Keselowski's been pretty good on the intermediate tracks, really good at tire management, which Darlington is a tire management type of track. We saw him win here in the spring, offers you some place differential upside as well. So, Keselowski could be a nice pivot option off of, Denny Hamlin based off of where they're starting and the price difference there. I do think Hamlin has more dominator upside, but maybe you compare Larson or Reddick with the Keselowski, and that might be a good, way to start your builds. Now, if you're looking at Truex in his results, it's going to say don't play him. But if you actually dive into the numbers a little bit more and look at the data, he runs extremely well here. He's just gotten super unlucky with a variety of different issues that have kind of ruined his races. So maybe that keeps his ownership down a little bit. I think Truex could be a nice pivot option off of the Larson Reddick Hamlin chalk that you're going to see. So I like him for tournaments. Despite Christopher Bell winning yesterday, I'm just really not getting to him a ton today. Um, he starts ninth. I don't know if he'll be able to get out front and get you that dominator upside. And with how many laps there are, you really want to try to maximize, those dominator points. And I just feel better about Truex, Kozlowski, Byron, Reddick, Larson, Hamlin, and even some drivers cheaper than him. So because of that, I'm really just not getting to Christopher Bell. I really do like Chase Elliott, though, gives you some place differential upside. Might not have the lap leading ability, but if he starts 20th and finishes 8th, picks up some fast laps along the way, that'll be a pretty good, DFS day. And he's only $9,000 too. So he's pretty easy to pair with some of those top dominator options. Ryan Blaney's going to be kind of another driver I'm just not really getting to. Historically, Darlington has not been a good track for Ryan Blaney. He's been running better as of late and did still qualify well, but the fear is he starts 7th and he finishes 8th, or starts 7th and finishes 6th, which could be a good NASCAR day for him, but DFS wise, might get outscored from either place differential plays coming through or potentially, other dominator options. I really do like Joey Logano though. So same equipment, but Logano historically has run good at Darlington and does actually have a win here as well. And he starts 23rd. So he's kind of like Chase Elliott. He gives you some place differential upside, a little bit more of a safer option. Most likely he's going to be inside the top 10 at some point during this race, should finish inside the top 10 as long as things don't go awry for him. Um, let's see, let me snooze this update. Don't want that to update during the middle of the video. And then we got Chris Buescher and Ty Gibbs. I'm going to throw them together. Both of them are more tournament options. They kind of start a little far forward. They should be top 10 contenders, but if they're not picking up fast laps, they could probably get outscored. So a little bit more of tournament options there. I think they'll run well. I don't mind going there in tournaments, but definitely not target place for me by any means. Now, Ross Chastain historically has been pretty good in the next gen era at Darlington. The concern for them and just Trackhouse in general, it's just been a relatively a down year for this team. So but this is it. I mean, this is the final chance for Ross to get into the playoffs. He's below the cut line at the moment. He needs a good day, if not a win, to get in. But he has run well here, and he gives you some place differential upside. He's only $8,000 as well. So if you can't afford a Chase Elliott, if you can't afford a Joey Logano, I think Ross Chastain is a fine place differential option. Kyle Busch is going to be a little bit more of that GPP pivot option off of Chastain. His numbers here are decent in the next gen era, but 2024 has just been a terrible year for this team. So, you know, play him at your own risk, I guess. Now, Bubba Wallace starts first. Wallace actually has really good numbers here in the next gen era at Darlington, and just in general on the intermediate style tracks. Bubba has been running pretty well. So add the fact in that he's the pole sitter. He has the #1 pit stall. He's only $7,700. He's really easy to fit into lines. Like you can easily pair him with a Hamlin, Larson, Reddick, Keselowski, Truex, those types of dominator plays. And he's a good chance to go out there and lead a bulk of stage 1 and then still finish 8th, still finish 10th, maybe get some fast laps, along the way. So, and he also needs a good point stay to get into the playoffs. So I think there's going to be a lot of motivation, a lot of, emphasis and effort on those teams. So I really like that play. If you don't think Bubba can maintain the lead or falls back too much, the safer options are definitely going to Bowman and Jones. Prefer Bowman there just based off of the equipment that he's in, but both of them, have top 15 upside. Both of them are going to project well. Chase Briscoe starts a little bit too far forward. I don't think he'll be able to get out front and get to the lead. Josh Berry, we saw him run well here in the spring, going to be a little bit more of a tournament option. Probably his ownership's going to be down just based off of a lot of people going to Bubba, a lot of people going to Bowman, a lot of people going to Jones, and a lot of people going to Gregson. So Gregson's in the same equipment as Barry. He's only $100 cheaper, and he starts, basically 15 spots further back, 14 spots further back than Barry does, and they, should finish around. Barry probably has a little bit more of a higher, upside and ceiling to him, but Gregson has all that place differential upside baked in, so it's much easier for Gregson to hit value. Cindric starts a little bit too high. Then getting down to the bottom of the slate here, you got Todd Gilliland and Ricky Stenhouse. These are going to be my favorite, punt options or value options down here. You might still have to go a little bit lower on the slate, just depending on how top heavy you're building. Stenhouse did wreck out in practice early, so his practice times are going to look really good, but he wasn't he wasn't riding around in practice enough for really there to be much tire fall off. So that's why his numbers look so good. But he did wreck, he did hit the wall. He will be starting DFL because of that, but he can't lose you, any points. He can't lose you any spots. Where Todd also starts pretty deep, but he's been running really well as of late. So I really like Todd. And then if you want some pivot options off of the Stenhouse and Gill and Chalk, I think you can go to McDowell or Suarez, and then maybe SVG. SVG probably be the lowest owned of those three pivot options that we just talked about, but he's probably the most risky as well. Not only because of the equipment that he's in, compared to McDowell and Suarez, but just the experience. I mean, this is a really tough track, especially for a driver that does not have a lot of laps around Darlington. And then I'm not really getting to Austin Dillon just mainly because of I'd rather get to all these other plays. And then Hocevar, I think if you're building, multiple lineups tonight, maybe there's a chance where Hocevar gets the lead early in this race. Maybe he beats Bubba on the start. Maybe he's your stage one early lap leader, which would be crazy getting a lap leader for only $6,000. I don't think it's very likely. I think, Bubba Wallace is much better of a play than Hocevar, but Hocevar is going to see like next to no ownership. So again, if you're building multiple lines, maybe Hocevar can go out there, lead you stage one, and then get a 12th place finish. And for $6,000, he doesn't have to do as much as Bubba Wallace does. Not really getting to Burton or LaJoy. Haley, maybe we saw him run well here in the spring, but this Rick Ware racing team is so hit or miss. I'd much rather just go to Ryan Preece or Zane Smith. They just offer a little bit more place differential upside, maybe not as much finishing upside, but they're going to be just a little bit cheaper, a little bit safer. Not really getting to John Hunter Nemechek or Daniel Hemrick. Definitely not getting to Timmy Hill. And then maybe if you need someone down this low, you can go to Casparella. It's just a pure attrition play if you think there's a lot of wrecks, a lot of accidents, but otherwise, don't really expect much for him. So for me, it's really trying to get as many of those plays in my line that I think have lap leading upside, can pick up fast laps and can finish up towards, the top 10. So that's going to be Hamlin, Larson, Reddick, Keselowski, Truex, Elliott, Logano. I think Busher and Gibbs are those tournament plays. I like Chastain a lot. I think Wallace can be a good lap leader for you early. Bowman and Jones are solid place differential, upside play. Same with Gregson. Gilliland, I think McDowell, Suarez, SVG are all pivot, options, Stenhouse, and then if you need places or cheap plays down here, Preece and Zane Smith. So it's pretty much my player pool tonight. Those are the drivers I'm going to be building around, mixing and matching. So that'll do it. It's going to be a long race tonight, so enjoy it, and we will catch you guys next weekend.